Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast, spoiler special episode. My name is Martin Harries, your host. On this episode, we are talking plot lines, characters, and all things spoilerific. You have been warned. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Lady in Red. Oh, we have started. Okay, British Pool here. Hello, folks. It is time for another spoiler special time again on the podcast. Yes, I know it's been a while. Don't fucking at me, all right? Keep your fingers away from your keyboard. It's been a while, I know. Sorry. But I have a very special guest with me today. Chase from the Movie Gap podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Of course, we are talking Daedpool and Wolverine. Getting all spoilerific. So, of course, if you're one of the strange people that has not seen this film yet, go watch it and then come back and listen to this.
It made like $500 million worldwide. Who hasn't seen it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, if you haven't seen it, do you really care about spoilers at this point?
Yeah. So the strange people.
Yeah.
So initial reactions for you, Chase. What did you make of it?
So I saw it twice.
What did you make of it?
The first time I saw it on like the Saturday morning. By the way, for the listeners that don't know, I'm across the pond, as you say, over in Houston, Texas. So I saw it that Saturday that it came out, that Saturday morning.
Awesome.
At the very first showing, because I'm old and I don't like to go out late at night. But I saw that and I loved it.
Nerd sock or
what?
Nerd sock? Did you take your nerd sock or was that fine in the drawer?
I don't.
Fine
know
in the drawer. It's one of the jokes in the film. It's like when they're Daedpool and Wolverine about to fight, and he's like, "Get your nerd sock ready, people. This is going to be awesome," or something. And
yeah. Okay, nerd sock. Yeah, like you're gonna jizz in it. Yeah.
Do you not remember that bit?
No, and I saw it twice. In fact, I just saw it last.
It's one of the jokes.
Afternoon.
Still early there, people. Still early.
Yeah. I definitely jizzed my pants the first time. The second time, not so much, but I enjoyed it even more from a like meta form of things in the way that people can complain about Daedpool for breaking the fourth wall, even though that's built into his character. But the way that they do it, especially in this film, it fits into the MCU even better than it fits into his own movies, I think.
Yeah.
Like the way that the story structure is put together is brilliant. So I really enjoyed the second watch almost more than the first one. I laughed more the first time, although there's some things that I'm still laughing at. Nerd sock not being one of them.
I really enjoyed it. I've seen it twice as well. The first time, there's a few holy crap moments, which one was spoiled for me online, which is fine, but I was still gasping when it came up. There was another one which was great as well. Yeah, I love the kind of the meta aspect, and what's kind of really surprised me is just the reviews that's come out have been very negative with some reviewers over here, which is really surprising. I'm just like, well, what did you expect? Like, this is Daedpool. He's always going to be very crass and really kind of in your face and rude, very, very sweary. I saw a great Instagram post that Marvel has said like 198 F-bombs or something, and the only other one that wasn't in this film was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. All the rest are in this movie for the entire MCU.
Which, by the way,
Marvel.
the one in Guardians of the Galaxy is the weirdest one because it's so like offhanded, like, which I guess makes it a little more realistic. But like, usually when you get one F word in a PG-13 movie or whatever, you're going to like pick its spot. And like in that one, it wasn't like, it was more realistic because it's like, well, yeah, but then if he uses it that one time and it's not that big a deal, why isn't he why aren't they using cuss words more often? You know, where in this it's pretty flagrant. Well, you know, and like, you know, the Deadpool movies have had a lot of cursing because they've always been R. The only other one would have been not from the MCU, but you know, the Sony one would have been Logan. And I remember watching Logan, and as somebody who says fuck a lot, especially on our podcast, it felt like even in Logan, which I loved that movie, but like even that felt like an 11-year-old who just learned the word fuck.
Yeah.
And so they just use it too much, you know? And I feel like in Deadpool, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, he uses it very liberally, and I think he gets the timing and when he uses it. It's perfectly done, I think, from Ryan Reynolds. He's obviously credited as a writer on this. There's quite a few writers on this film, which is interesting. Certainly with the dialogue and the jokes, I think it's brilliantly done. The only thing that's kind of surprised me near the beginning is that they didn't do like the creative titles. You know, it was just normal, directed by Sean Levy, you know, starring Ryan Reynolds. They didn't like change it. They, you know, that was only a minor gripe, but maybe that was just a legal thing that no, this is a proper MCU film now. You can't do that.
Yeah, I bet that has something to do with it. And then also like that original, like, because that's during the him using Logan's skeleton, or you know, adamantium skeleton when
corpse,
all those happened, right? Yeah, the corpse, yeah. And I think that they want you to pay more attention to what's going on there.
Yeah, because I think what Sean Levy was saying was that he really wanted to just kind of remind the audience, yes, this is under Disney Marvel now in the proper MCU, but no, this is definitely going to be the Deadpool that you know. Very physical, violent action with a lot of blood. Yes, digital blood, but I don't really mind that too much. You can kind of be a bit more creative with that. And it was just really, really well done. Just the choreography. Yes, very violent, but very goofy and funny and slapstick as well. The way like Deadpool just like bounces his katana onto the guy's, through the guy's mouth, through his head. And he's like,
and then pulls the Will Smith line.
Take my country out of your mouth and my sword. One of my favorite parts as well was when he literally like kills someone with one of Wolverine's thigh bones or something, and he literally like stabs him in the groin, and yet, which is funny in itself, but you in slow motion you can see Deadpool moving his hand down the bone, like he's wanking him off, which was just hilarious.
There's a lot of that, like, you know,
thigh bones or something,
13-year-old humor in an R-rated film, which is what you want from a Deadpool. I mean, even when like in that scene where he's got both like the Wolverine claws into the guys, one of them's in a butt, and so like he's like. He's the
groin, yeah.
What do they call it? Spit roasting. Like he's been spit roasted, but he's the one spit roasting. Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome. What do you reckon about Ryan Reynolds in this film compared to the other two? Like, I think for me, this is probably his best performance yet. Really like completely grown into the role. Yeah, he works off Hugh Jackman brilliantly for me.
Yeah, well, and like, you know, I watched the Jimmy Kimmel that they hosted together like that Friday or Thursday before the movie actually came out, and like they are very much real friends, and if they're not, then they're incredible actors, but they work together so well. And I think that like he really respects, like Ryan really respects Hugh, and Hugh really respects Ryan. And it's one of those things of like with a Deadpool movie, and I think one of the things that specifically the second one was missing was that there was no character to like push back on the absurdity of the Deadpool character. I think that he's like really come into it. Like he was always into it, even in X-Men Origins, like before he became the the end Daedpool thing, which was awful. But even then, he was kind of that character. I mean, he kind of was playing Wade Wilson in Blade, which we get to see a little bit of that in this film, which I love. But I think that he's really like found the balance of like where you could break the camera. And I don't know if it's just him or him and the writers or him and the creative like working together or and how much of it is improv. I mean, with these movies like this, there's not a lot of room for improv probably, but because of how much has to be like prevised and everything. But I think that one thing that really helped this, because I think that Daedpool 2 is better than Daedpool 1, but Daedpool 1 is also kind of better than Daedpool 2. But like Daedpool 1 introduces the character very well. Deadpool 2, they overuse the gimmick of the like the first person and the meta breaking of the fourth wall and everything. And there's nobody to like play off of him other than the kid, right? The other people always kind of ignore it.
Cable.
Yeah, and Cable, a
little bit.
But like Cable is
Cable,
kind of a lackluster character in that sense, right? It's just too stoic. So like you if you combine the kid with Cable, you get like Wolverine. And the fact that they work together so well as actors and they appreciate each other and they are friends in real life. I don't know if I already said it, but like they hosted the Jimmy Kimmel Show, which is a show we have over here in America. It's one of the, he's a presenter of a late night show, but they hosted it together and it was super like cute in this like sappy sort of like best friend sort of way. And you could tell that like Ryan Reynolds is, he knows his talents and he wishes he was as good as Hugh Jackman, like in real life and on film. And Hugh Jackman really wants to be as funny as Ryan. But like, it's just like, I can't, like you could watch it. Like the man is funny. The man is great. And the man is a live performer. And you watch him next to Ryan Reynolds, like hosting that show. And you could tell he's just like uncomfortable. And like, I have to tell this joke now. And I have to be funny in this way. That's still me. Like he has to have that, theatrical mask.
Stoic. Angry.
Well, he has to have, just even a theatrical
Stoic.
mask of just
Angry.
being somebody that isn't you, right? And like that's really hard for some people. So I wonder how much of Ryan is Wade and Deadpool, right? And like how much of it isn't.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's mostly that. Yeah,
I would say a lot.
I mean, even like the first, like one of the very first jokes that I loved so much was in this film was him saying that there's 206 bones in the human body. And then 207 if you're watching Gossip Girl, which like, if you know, his wife is Blake Lively, who was on Gossip Girl. So like it's that double meta, which is like, oh, that's funny because it's kind of a girl show and it's got cute girls and like he gets a little bone from it, but it's also the real actor, like the player inside the player inside of Deadpool being like, that's awesome. My wife and I love it.
I did not know that. And that makes it funny. I mean, I laughed out loud. I mean, the whole cinema found that really funny in that moment anyway. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for me, I think I probably prefer Deadpool 1 over Deadpool 2. I think just because of the tightness of it with the story and, it's just Deadpool and a few other characters. And I kind of like that. And they play on the kind of the low budget aspect of it. I mean, the whole reason the film gets made is because it's no one knows if it's true, but like Ryan Reynolds supposedly like leaked the test footage on the internet and it obviously got an amazing reaction and then made Fox greenlight it. And obviously that was in a period where people were very unsure about whether huge audiences were going to go see R-rated films, 15s and 18s over here. So, I've spoken a lot about like Prometheus and on the show on a few occasions, and we've always just talked about it was just marketed wrong because the studios at that time, they were just very unsure whether people were going to go see those type of films. So I think Deadpool was definitely in that kind of same boat in that area of the late noughties, 2010s. So yeah, I really like him in this one. I think he is just hilarious in it, and he works off, Hugh Jackman incredibly well for me. And yeah, he's fantastic. And you can tell, like, they're great friends. I mean, when Ryan Reynolds says towards the end, like, "Oh, I've been waiting for this team up for a long time," like, that's kind of Ryan saying that to me.
Yeah.
Certainly watching it the second time, I'm like, that is Ryan there.
Yeah.
Like, you can really feel it. I mean, to be fair, like, I was getting kind of emotional both times in this film, because obviously we've seen Hugh Jackman, like, play the role for a long time as Wolverine, and I know they do the joke, "You're going to play this role until you're 90," which was funny, but I don't think that will happen, obviously. But it does feel like this is the proper end now, that I don't think we're going to see him again as Wolverine. So, certainly during those last scenes with the Madonna song, yeah, I was like, "Oh, this is getting me in the feels a little bit." I never for one moment thought that they were both going to die. Absolutely not.
No,
but
yeah.
it was just the fact that I think this is the last time we're going to see
him. And like,
as Wolverine.
One of the things that so there's a friend of mine who is just like super boners for theater, right? Like, theater is everything. And he kind of hates all film. And this is not Bryce. But
Okay.
Bryce doesn't give a shit about the theater. But like, right. He's like super into, like, it's about realism, or it's about acting the part. It doesn't need to be the right thing. And film gets like so obsessed with these weird story elements and the fact that, like, everybody has to play exactly who they are, right? Which it does help on film, because you're so close to that person compared to on stage, right? But in the same vein, when we're talking about like comic book movies and stuff in particular, one of his things is, well, Hugh Jackman isn't Wolverine. Like, he's just not Wolverine. He's never been Wolverine. He's just totally wrong. And he's right from a stature, except we do get to see that. Like, that real one. He goes, "Oh, no, I'm out." Deadpool. This is the wrong one.
Look at you. No, I don't think so.
And I love how even that's the better Wolverine than the one he pulls. They lost Wolverine. So he's so upset about that. And like, as a theater guy, that guy is also like obsessed with Hugh Jackman. Like, he's an incredible actor. And this movie, I also think Logan, but somehow, and maybe it's because of the like absurdity of everything that's going on in this, but like even the scenes that are so touching and so incredible in Logan, if you go back and watch them, they are not as poignant as they are as like his, like, because he's got like 6 monologues in this movie, Hugh Jackman, Logan / Wolverine in this movie. And his pathos is so visible without being forced. Like, he's just so good. And it's not all the same one. Like, because he's got the one with X-23 again. He's got a couple with Daedpool. He's got the one in the very end, or towards the very end, with
in his mind.
Where he's in the
brain
mind,
fondling.
And then, like, also you could bounce back from that with, like, one of the things that I really enjoy about this film is that we get to see all those scenes that we wanted to see in live action. With, Deadpool and Wolverine, and like these like insane fight scenes that are just like super gory that we've kind of seen a couple of times, but like it's well done. And then one of the things that I really enjoy is the way that their relationship between the two of them, when they end up fighting, 3 times in the movie. Like, the first time it's that big drawn out fight, when they first hit the void
in the trash.
Yeah. And then where you see the fox sign in the background.
Yeah.
But then the one in the car, it has a totally different feel, because it's like, it's like, I don't know if you have any siblings, but I have a little brother. Yeah. And we used to beat the crap out of each other. Right. But when you're going to hurt them and when you don't want to hurt them, but like, if you both can't die and you both have weapons, you're going to go further. But even the way that they go further on each other, it's like, I know this is going to hurt, but you're going to come back from it. Whereas, like, they just go for the kill on everybody else, It's always just like, well, chop your head off, poke you in the heart. And like this one, it's like, I'm going to poke you in the balls and twist it. and then I'm going to poke you over here, and so now you can't breathe, so I can poke you over here.
Little knife. Yeah.
I had to pull a little knife out of your butt.
Yeah, that fight in the car was kind of really great when you have that amazing speech from Logan, and then Deadpool is kind of speechless for the first time, and then there's a moment where he's like, I'm going to fight you now. And yeah, as you say, that they know they can't kill each other, so they, as you say, yeah, they're trying to just hurt each other, and it just feels really intense as well, very graphic, very violent, and kind of has that, but at the same time has a really great creative quality to it, because it's all kind of based around this car, and they're kind of fucking up the car at the same time, which is supposed to be, you know, a terrible car. So, you know, you have all that kind of dynamic, and it's not too overblown. Like, I think there would be a temptation to like completely overblow it with trying to make the action feel huge, but no, it almost kind of feels very intimate, as you say, like they're kind of brothers play fighting.
Well, yeah, they're in a crappy car.
Overblown. Like,
they're going on a road trip. And like they just get in a little bit of a fight because they've been together too long.
Bickering.
They know each other too well. They don't agree on something, even though they do agree on something, you know. And so then it becomes this like sibling rivalry or best friends or whatever you want to call it, you know. And you can hate your best friend a lot. You can hate your brother a lot, right? But at the end of the day, you hate him because like
you don't want to kill him.
Well, and especially with brothers and you know, any family member, like one of the reasons that we know how to push each other's buttons is because we are the ones who installed them on each other, you know? So it's sort of like that. And it plays that way. And we also get to see like the big epic fight scene with the two of them before that, you know, when Wade is like, guys, I'm trying not to do this. Oh, you stabbed me in the back.
Is this dumpster fire we call reality bumming you out? Samesies. Viewing the Blues Away is a review of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Cheers, the most inspiring films of all time. Movies, mental health, mediocre commentary. New episodes every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, and it's a bit more like choreographed and kind of what we're sort of used to in an MCU film.
Yeah, okay, that's the perfect way of putting it. Like the choreography of like the bigger fight scenes is so cool and so epic, where it's when they're fighting in like the little car, obviously it's choreographed and everything like that, but it feels more it feels more tussle. You know, it feels more like I'm punching you in the face, but I'm never punching. Like they never actually hit each other in the face. You know, you would never hit your brother in the face. Why? Because then you'd leave a mark that your mother would see. You know, like,
or well, Blind Al wouldn't see it. But
no. Why do you call her Blind Al? Because she's blind. What do you want? What are you talking about? But yeah, again, like going with that, like there's also all those meta things where, so like obviously there's two ways to look at it if you are watching Deadpool. If you are not him, right? So he's the only one who understands breaking the fourth wall, right? But now that it's connected to the MCU, we have the fact that he knows that there is the watchers of the timeline or whatever you call it. The DSA are always watching him. So TVA, not TSA, although they're watching too. But, you know, so the TVA, they are like always watching. So anybody that knows about the TVA might be like, this guy really thinks that they got a camera on him at all times, right? And then there's also the people who just think he's like a total whack job. But then there may or may not be people who know about the Watchers, which maybe he's talking to them. The only thing that they don't know is is the fact that he is talking to us. And the only reason he knows that he's talking to us is because no matter what universe he's in, he knows that there is another universe that is us that he is seeing, right?
Watching him.
In fact, there's that one scene where he, like, when he first gets to the TVA and he, like, walks off from
Mr. Paradox.
Yeah, Mr. Paradox. Yeah.
Mr. Paradox.
Succession. What's his name?
Yeah.
God,
Matthew McFadden.
God, he's so fucking good. I'm so as soon as he popped up, I was like, fuck yes. So glad he's in this. I just want to be his cousin Greg so bad.
Yeah. He's bringing like some great like Tom energy into this role. Just really great whiny British villain.
He's so good too, and like immediately you're just like, fuck this guy.
He's bringing yeah. You really wanted him to die as well. Like great swearing from him as well. Like when he's saying to one of his technicians towards the end when he's trying to like say to him, "Oh, we should need to do the test for the Time Ripper," I think it's called. And he's like, "No, you droopy boob," or something. No, let's skip that and do it. He's brilliant.
No, he's so good.
So good. Very much an unexpected villain for me. I didn't really know much about the character from the comic books, if he is one from the comics.
I don't really know.
Like a rogue TVA guy trying to be the TVA.
I'm sure there's something somewhere at some point.
Yeah,
that
probably.
Was that. Even if it's not like the right connection, like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, like that was like a totally different character in the comics before they brought it into Deadpool. Right. It was just like the one they had rights for. But like they even talk about like they'll have like people on set who are like, okay, you are sitting behind this computer. Here's a bunch of character. Like they have this like book that they'll have them flip through and they go, these are the choices that you have. These are characters that are actually in Marvel that we have the right for. And we want you to pick one of these. And that's going to be you. It may not have anything to do with what happens in this. It may not even be you credited as this, but like, we'll be able to, do that. And like, they'll pick one. And then like, sometimes they get pulled back in as something else. Like I forget what her character name is now, but like Leslie Bibb from like the first Iron Man, like her character was like, she got to pick a reporter from a list of reporters that didn't have a lot to do with things. And she picked it. And then they were like, great, that fits in. It's that Easter egg. And then they can also pull you back in and make you do stuff. But what I was also going back to on the breaking the fourth wall thing is that there's that beautiful shot right after, Paradox, tells him what's going on. And Deadpool, after he unmasks and he walks over to the camera, punches it, or pulls the boom mic down and punches it, and then turns around and walks. And it cuts right where he's turning around and walking, and there's no camera there. There's nothing there, right? Yeah. Like, so like we're seeing back from the visual of everybody else who is on the TVA side. Like the only thing that we could be like, oh, anybody here who doesn't think he's insane would only be able to understand it if they were in the TVA or knew about the TVA. But even the TVA is like, well, this isn't that. So like whatever, like what is he? What are they seeing? Is he like because he doesn't Saved by the Bell, stop time sort of situation. It's just he just goes.
No. Yeah, miss minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I really like that moment where he's just like, "Suck it, Fox," and then just headbutts the camera lens as well. Yeah, that moment you're talking about. Yeah, I don't think they really put too much effort into what characters are kind of realizing what's going on.
Well, and they shouldn't because like you start calling that much attention to it. One, it stops being a comedy. Like it's sort of the best parody version of a superhero film that's ever really existed, I think. And part of it is because it's still I think in the second one they played with that balance a little too much and it went towards the silliness side, which is why people don't like it as much. This one, it's just sort of like, no, the stakes are still there. And not only that, we started off with like, the one thing is that Hugh Jackman's like, I'm never coming back. Logan is dead. This is a beautiful thing. Everybody agreed that it was a great film. Or for the most part, everybody agreed it was a great film and a good way for Hugh Jackman to, hang up the claws, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And with this one, it starts out with, all right, we're going to get him, the best Logan. And he's totally fine. And he pulls him out and desecrates his corpse. He goes, before you start arguing, I know this is awful.
Yeah.
Get off your keyboards. Or whatever his line is, where it's just like, we're not going to outlive this. Like people are going to complain about the fact that we're bringing Logan back from the dead. But look, he's not alive. This is the Logan that died. We didn't change it.
Yeah. He's very dead.
Like guys, we didn't change it. That one happened. It's still real. You can still love that. Yeah. You can also ignore that this ever happened, or you don't have to.
Yeah. It's that balance of keeping respect of Logan and his death, whereas at the same time having fun in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're still they're not, you know, rewriting anything with Logan. He's still very much dead, and he has an incredible fight scene with his adamantium skeleton.
Yeah, well, and the whole movie is set up
to NSYNC.
Yeah, the whole movie,
It's that balance.
So good. And again, that I think that's why they didn't do like the silly credit things, is because the fight scene was A, really cool. B, we're still making you know that we are desecrating what was before, and that we're just going a whole new way. Right. Plus, we just saw that it's TVA. So like, we're like, oh shit, now we're in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Right. And then they have the jokiness being the bye.
You've got a little bit of a kind of a fourth wall thing going on with the fact that he's literally doing dance moves completely separate from the actual fight in the same location.
Yeah.
So that was kind of great to see in terms of sort of fourth wall meta filmmaking there. I don't think they break, because I always really enjoy like Deadpool interacting with the camera in especially in the first one. There's a few great occasions of that. I can only really remember like one time in the TVA where he really does that. Like,
and it's like
great occasions of that.
Yeah.
Uses his hands to kind of move the camera around. That's the only one I can remember. And there's only like a few glances to camera. There's not a lot of dialogue sections where he's literally addressing the camera directly.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a shame for me, because I always really enjoy that part about Deadpool.
See, and I agree with you on that. And I think that like the more you watch it, you'll probably find a little bit more here and there where he literally like winks to the camera, or he'll say something that is only something that audience would get. Like, you know, even when she's like, when he's got the Juggernaut helmet and he's going to break what's her name's neck. And he's like, she goes, I'm going to kill you. And then listen to my Enya box set. And he goes, Enya has a box set. And then he looks back. But it's one of those things of Wolverine's like, focus.
Yeah.
Like, get back here.
Yeah.
You know, even at one point he goes, have you ever been tested for ADHD? He's like, what?
Yeah, that's great.
But you know, it's I think that part of that is that we have now. So the first Deadpool, he gets his powers. He learns about the fact that he can talk to us, right? Mm-hmm. It's his what do they call it? It's in the comics is like super, because you know, the anti-Deathstroke, like, but it's the fact that he knows that he's in a comic book or a movie or whatever, right? Yeah, and then in the second one, he learns time travel, so he now has control over everything. Yeah. And he knows that he could go anywhere at any time to stop things from happening. But then now that he's also on every other timeline, including the fact that he could jump dimensions, if you will, into our timeline, he is so out of place that he is not able to control what he usually controls that way. Right. Plus there's too much at stake, right? Like he's lost his love once. He found her in that other way, knows that he can't have her even in that place, and he just wants to get back to that. He's not even playing anymore.
They use kind of that with the dimensional travel with Cable's wristwatch thingy to kind of, as you say, like create the stakes. Like his family is just in that picture in this particular universe, and Mr. Paradox is going to just wipe it off, you know, the timeline of that particular universe. So yeah, I guess they are kind of using that instead of that device, instead of doing too many like full breaks, I guess. Yeah, you have like lots of different little looks to the camera, and sometimes I guess it can be a little bit difficult to pick up sometimes. I don't know, because obviously he is under a mask and they do animate the eyes as much as they can. Yeah. But yeah, I would have maybe, I don't know, had a little bit more of him interacting with the camera itself. But that's only kind of a minor gripe, really. It's just because I always love that sort of thing.
Yeah, and
doing
he really like
too many.
He only really does it in this film. Like, I mean, it's like split second stuff.
You got to keep the pace up, don't you? So I think if he ever does that, you're slowing the film down. So I do get it. You know?
Yeah, and you know, it does play into that, like the ADHD factor of what he is, where it's like there's no time. Here's a little joke. There's no time. Stop. I can't do that. There's no, like there's not quite enough of that, but like every once in a while you'll hear him make a joke, and sometimes it's just like you can see it, like even in his like suit, it's like that one was for me. Like he'll give a little thing.
Yeah.
The second time I watched the movie, I looked for it, but I couldn't see it. But it's the hilt, or like on the bottom of the hilt of his katanas. One of them says B, and the other says Arthur. So his swords are called B. Arthur. It was from the Golden Girls.
Okay.
But there's like little things like that are nice little touches.
I mean, it's interesting with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, because I think in the development stage of this film, that with Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and the whole merger thing, that they were really kind of struggling to get this story off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to an interview with Sean Levy, and Hugh Jackman literally called them up to say, yeah, I want to play Wolverine again with Daedpool. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, we got to try and fit a story around Wolverine. We finally kind of felt like for them that was kind of just the missing piece for this third film. And yeah, it's just such a different character for him, and the way his kind of story develops in this, that he's very much, as they say, he's the worst one, which he's never really kind of played Logan Wolverine like this before. Kind of a strangely cowardly character in his own world when he is, talking to X-23 and Daedpool. It's kind of a very much a cowardly anger when he is getting really angry and a very sad, angry kind of thing. Whereas before, like in his team up films in the original trilogy, is more of a kind of a gleeful anger with the action. Whereas this, you can see the kind of the pain behind his eyes. It's just incredible acting, really. Yes, with like Logan, there is that painful anger as well in his performance, but I think with that it's kind of different because he knows he's on his last legs. I think it's a very different performance, and there's a lot more, I think, a lot more like makeup design in Logan as well, which helps with that, I think. Yeah. Whereas this is all kind of Hugh Jackman for me. Yeah. Just a very different take, and this performance is closer to Logan, I think, than any of the others, really.
Yeah, I mean, especially like, me growing up, because we didn't, like, I never grew up with like comic books, just because like we didn't live where I could walk to a comic book store or anything like that. So, and like, we weren't allowed to spend money that much or whatever. So like I grew up on all the TV shows and things like that, and any comics that I could get from my friends here and there. But for the most part, it was like I had a bunch of cards that I would trade magic cards and things with for like X-Men cards, and, watching the TV show. And so I feel like this Logan is way closer to, that 97 cartoon, or the one that ended in 97, the new one being X-Men 97. But like, it's much closer to that, obviously in the suit and everything, but just in that, like, he gave up sort of way. Right. But where like that one would have gone on to be Logan, this one was the one who was like, Scott took Jean and I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he's like, I went to the bottle, which also is weird that Wolverine like loves drinking all the time, like with his ability to like heal. Like, it depends on how fast he could heal. Could he even really get drunk? And maybe that's why he never really does.
Yeah. Because you have that whole thing with Captain America where he's just like, I try and drink, but I can't get drunk.
Yeah. I mean, the Flash is the same way, because of metabolism. But I guess Wolverine, because Wolverine can die. He just heals. So maybe he can get real drunk. He just doesn't ever have a hangover because he heals faster.
What did you make of Cassandra Nova, played by Emma Corrin?
Phenomenal. I thought she was, they were incredible. Like, I had never, my wife watches The Crown.
Yeah.
And they played Princess Di. Yeah. Where my wife was like, so good, like, looks like her, acts like her, and like, it's amazing. And I was like, okay. And like, I never watched it or whatever. And then afterward, my wife asked the same thing about them playing Cassandra Nova. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I thought they were incredible. Like, that was such a cool performance. And they're like, yeah, that's Princess Di. And I was like, what? I was like, that is not Kristen Stewart. She's like, no, not that Princess Di, the other Princess Di.
Yeah, I really liked her. I kind of loved the kind of the playfulness she brought to the role. I just loved the design of how they were doing like the finger fondling stuff in the brain. I don't know if that's comic accurate, but I thought it was just a great idea. Yeah,
I don't either. See, like that. Now that first one where she goes in, or where she goes in through Daedpool, I was like, oh man, because he's wearing the mask and everything, you could easily have done that in like a really creepy sort of like practical effect way. But then the fact that they kept doing it with other things, it was like, okay, never mind. Because you're never going to make that look good, like going through like a rubber skull and the person's still moving. So like, yeah, I guess you have to go that way. But it would have been really cool if like they were able to do that, like squishing into it. That would have been so. It was still really cool looking.
Yeah, definitely.
And they were like scary, and I do love that. Like, so like Cassandra Nova, like she knows everything, right? Because she's learned it from whoever she touches that gets put into the void, right? So clearly this one has been was, I guess, pruned or whatever from the beginning, like before Charles even knew that they existed or whatever. And so like they're learning all these things about all of these races and everything through the fact of who gets thrown in and what they know about other people. Never really talks about anything that's sort of colloquial or anything until we see her go into Daedpool, and then later on she starts talking about Inya, like when he has the helmet on her, and it's sort of one of those things of like she knows what will get Wade's head mixed up, because she knows this motherfucker can't not make a joke if I say Inya. And it almost works, to a point where Logan's like, focus again. Let me talk to her. I'm talking to her. I know how to get to her. We're going to talk about Charles. Fucking you idiot.
Yeah. This is my part of the movie. Shut up.
Also, when he punches Pyro, he's like, not everybody gets a story. He gets a monologue.
Yeah, I love that bit.
God, and like all of the but anyway, they're amazing. Like that was an incredible performance. I really enjoyed that. And I hope we see more of that.
I mean, you get like a lot of complaints in Marvel films where like, the villain wasn't great and you wanted more of the villain, blah, blah, blah. But I think with this type of film, like, you're here to see, Daedpool and Wolverine. Like, Cassandra Nova is playing a role for this film as a whole of being your antagonist, and she's just in it enough for me. I think if she was in it a bit too more, you're like, can we get back to Daedpool and Wolverine, please? So I think they got the balance just right there.
Yeah, well, and like I heard a story, from Ryan's mouth, so we don't know how true it is, but that the original title was Daedpool and Friend, and like they somehow the trailer, it was supposed to be announced, because it was announced at the Super Bowl, like in a commercial. I don't know if you know what the Super Bowl is, but like over here we have this game called football.
Oh yeah, I know
not soccer, but like
big
football.
fan.
Yeah.
I call it NFL. Yeah.
NFL. But yeah, so like at the Super Bowl, they dropped the trailer, and somehow it got like leaked a little bit ahead of time, and it was Daedpool and Friend, and like it was where you saw the hint that it was Wolverine, and apparently the internet, surprisingly, they got mad and they were like, it can't be called that; it has to be Daedpool and Wolverine. And so like like Ryan was like, look, we got to get this fixed. And so they went back through and they fixed it, and they got, the rights, and they changed it to Daedpool and Wolverine. But it would have been interesting and sort of even more meta, I think, if it was Daedpool and Friends, because it is Daedpool and Friends. I mean, his main friend being Wolverine, but we see fucking everybody.
Yeah, from the Fox universe.
Yeah, including also including every cameo of every Wolverine ever. All the way to Patch, and then like the future Wolverine, and like the sacrifice, like
is that actually from a comic? The sacrifice, one with all the red skulls.
It's one of those, or because I also remember that visual in Days of Future Past, but one of the ones with Cable and everything. It's like all of the, but then again, that's also something I could be thinking from. Planet of the Apes and everything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's one of those universes that happens.
Because obviously, when people were kind of speculating, okay, Marvel are gonna do the X-Men, who, I mean, they're not gonna get Hugh Jackman back,
Yeah.
Because at this point, no one really thought that Hugh Jackman would ever come back after Logan. So they were like, okay,
well, I mean, he said it many, many, many times.
Who's gonna come back as Wolverine?
Yeah.
So the name at the top of a lot of people's lips was Henry Cavill. Yep. So I love the fact that they brought him in to do a little cameo, and they do the Mission Impossible. He does the Mission Impossible like arm pump thing before he punches.
yeah.
That was funny. And also, I think that moment, I think Daedpool definitely kind of mentions it. I can't remember what he says, but it did feel like a bit of a FU to
DC,
the whole situation
goes,
with
hey.
DC.
Yeah, he goes, hey, we're going to treat you much better than the guys across the street. That's how he says it, yeah. No, Sean. Yeah. So Sean Ambrose, who was the villain in Mission Impossible 2, right? Which, spoiler alert, Henry Cavill ends up being a villain, but then isn't a villain or whatever in Mission Impossible. He's 7 or 8, yeah.
6,
6, yeah. I forget which ones they are after the
Fallout.
Yeah, after the Dustin Hoffman one. Not Dustin Hoffman.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm from a different timeline. But we
have a variant of Chase on the show.
But so in Mission Impossible 2, Sean Ambrose, an Australian actor, he was already cast to play Wolverine in the very first X-Men movie, but because of the fact that the movie had to get pushed back because of Eyes Wide Shut, and then also went over like 45 days. It put it out of the like place where he couldn't get out of that contract. So Hugh Jackman got hired, another Australian actor, to play a Canadian who's also too tall to technically play the part, but whatever. We're into that. Yeah. We're into that universe now. After 24 years, right? So he gets pulled in 3 weeks before the shoot. And so he starts playing Wolverine 3 weeks before the film like actually started principal photography. So it would have been interesting to see him do it, but then like nobody would have recognized him. I mean, unless you're in Australia, he's still working. He's very good. In fact, he's one of the better parts of Mission Impossible 2, which is a very hard movie to get through sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best.
Yeah, we just covered it on our podcast, where every year we do an anniversary episode. And it used to be the Die Hards, because that was our first episode, was Die Hard. So now we're doing Mission Impossible. And so we're on Mission Impossible 2. And we had a lot of fun with that. But like that would have been an interesting thing to see. So that's our first cameo, right? Henry Cavill as Wolverine, the Wolverine that never existed.
And then the next like big one, I guess, is with Chris Evans when
you think
you
it's
really
Captain America.
Captain America. And I was getting really confused. I was like, what? I don't understand what's going on. I definitely fell into that trap.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, is this like some sort of, I was like, wait, no, Captain America did, I know he did do Nomad for a while, but like, is this like some sort of weird Nomad?
But we've seen the Fox logo.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing? Like, I totally, like, it was one of those things, like seeing him and the way that Daedpool like sells it, you forget he's Johnny Storm.
Absolutely.
And especially when you're like, you have to know, like, if you've been in the void fighting Cassandra all this time, that Pyro is your worst enemy. You can't do it.
Yeah. And he just puts his hand up so nonchalantly, like, I'm taking all your fire now. Thank you.
That's another cameo. That's the original guy who played Pyro.
Absolutely.
Ray Park was Toad.
Oh, yeah.
Right in that same scene.
Darth Maul.
Yeah. I know. I was like, because like, once they said Toad, and I was like, I like elbowed my wife. I was like, that's Ray Park. And she goes, who? I was like, Toad. I was like, Darth Maul. She goes, but he's not horned. Don't worry about it. I'm pretty
not
sure.
In Star Wars.
I'm pretty sure that's him.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't that excited for him because I'm like,
I was just because I was
he was in Days of Future Past as well. So it wasn't too long for him.
Oh yeah. You got,
but yeah, when Chris Evans said flame on, I did burst out laughing. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. And Deadpool's like, say what now? Yeah, and he flies up. That was great. But yeah, I mean, the way he gets killed, though, I'm like, oh god, that was nasty.
the instant flay.
Yeah,
yeah, and you're like, this is Deadpool's fault. Like, why is he being a dick?
Yeah.
I do love the end credit sequence there.
Oh yeah, that
We're
was
like,
hilarious.
oh, he wasn't being a dick. He literally said all of that. I'm sorry, Deadpool.
Yeah.
My bad.
And then we get like a triple whammy halfway through the film. Yeah, sort of. And
You're forgetting.
Deadpool.
I don't think you can see it up there. Right there. That's Sabretooth.
Oh yeah,
Tyler Mane.
that fight ended very quickly.
And it was Tyler Mane coming back to play Sabretooth. So
cool. Yeah.
yeah, it was okay, everybody wants to see this. Yeah.
It was just a bit of a wheat.
Oh, okay, that was
yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah, because I don't think people were really.
No.
Well, so that was kind of an interesting joke. Yeah.
Well, we had that fight, with him and Lev Shriver in Origins, which is the first appearance of Deadpool.
Oh yeah, of course,
with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, yeah. But then we have this triple whammy when Elektra comes up, and I was like, meh. And then
no, the best part about Elektra coming up was when they're like, we lost Deadpool or we lost Daredevil, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she's like, "Eh."
Yeah,
because that was her husband. Like Ben Affleck played him, and then like so she's like, "We're good."
Yeah, it's great how they kind of work in the jokes when they, can't get that cameo. Because I suspect they would have tried to get Ben Affleck back, but yeah, that would have been a tough ask, I think. Anyway,
yeah, no, it wouldn't. Yeah. Well, I mean, they couldn't even get Vinnie Jones back to play Juggernaut.
Oh yeah, he's quite old now though. Yeah. He's got a belly.
Yeah, he's again, sorry, not soccer but football, right? And he's one of those those positions of football
players
that like you're not even allowed to do anymore because they just like go out to hurt people.
Yeah. So when Elektra comes out, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then when Blade comes up, I was like, oh my God, it's Blade. Even though it was spoiled for me, I still was like, holy shit, it's Blade.
Yeah, see, I didn't expect that.
I still couldn't quite believe it that people were saying Blade was in it. I'm like, no, surely not. I'm like, oh my God. Wesley Snipes is back.
Yeah. Well, and also ends up having one of the best jokes in the movie where he goes, "There'll never be another Blade," which is like so meta on two levels where it's like, yeah, well, they've already tried 3 times, and there's definitely going to be another one, but like, is there going to be another one?
Yeah, lots of directors have left.
They keep pushing that one back. Yeah, but then the biggest one, I know you're about to say,
and then obviously Gambit walks in. And the actor has literally just left my mind. Channing Tatum, yeah, which was hilarious. Where Deadpool's like, "Who is your dialect coach? The Minions?" Oh, that was definitely one of the biggest laughs.
Now, I will say this: as I have a lot of family, my whole family is from Louisiana. In fact, my co-host on that you've also heard on some of my other podcasts, AP Stark, he's a co-host that I'm going to have on a new podcast, but. He's from Lafayette, lives there to this day, and that dialect is pretty spot on. Like it's
really,
it's I mean, it's hard to understand. It's one of those ones that feels like a joke, but then you like go there and you're like, oh, this isn't a joke. Like,
they talk like that.
Yeah, and because it's this like muddiness of like French. With like Southern, and it only exists in like the estuary part of Louisiana. Like it's just that Cajun area. You're just like, this is a mix, and it is interesting. If you ever get a chance to go to New Orleans, you should. Just culturally, it is. First of all, the food is amazing, but it's also so cool to look at, and it's all so neat. But yeah, just to talk to the people there, you'll be like, am I in Disneyland? Are they doing a character? Like, no, that's just the people.
Yeah.
Like, it is awesome. But it is a hard accent to do, and he's doing pretty damn well.
Really? I thought he was basically just borrowing using the accent from the Jump Street films when it's the drug scene and he's, his accent is kind of wavering because of the drugs. So I thought he was just playing on that.
Yeah, no, it's actually better than, Jean-Claude Van Damme did a movie. Have you ever seen Hard Target? It's a John Woo movie.
Not for a long time.
Speaking of Mission Impossible 2, the same director. But it was 2 movies before that, because right before So he did Hard Target, John Woo. Then he did Face Off. Then he did Mission Impossible 2. But Hard Target was his first American film. He's a Japanese director, or no, maybe it was Hong Kong. I forget. But Hard Target is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he plays, because he is a Frenchman, even though he's from Germany, but he speaks French. But he plays a Cajun ex-hitman, and his accent in that is really hard to understand, and it's pretty dead on because he actually is sort of like, he knows French. So, but yeah, it sounds just like that. Like I'm pretty sure that's how Channing Tatum learned that accent, but you can't understand it. Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah. I mean, there's definitely jokes designed where you're not supposed to understand what he says, because I was just like, what the fuck did he just say? and obviously Deadpool acknowledges that, so that was great. And I think just the design as well with his costume, really comic book accurate. Just I think they pulled it off really well with the design. And
like I can't decide if they were like, well, let's just go straight up comic book accurate. Or if they were like, let's go comic book accurate, but also realism, but also like if you Google like when they announced that he was going to play Gambit, there was all these like fan designs, and it almost looks exactly like that. Which it was comic book accurate, which at that time most comic book movies were not doing that anyway. But like it was you know, there's the little differences of like, you know, in the comic book there's no like definition to his like face mask thing, and like. In that visual online, there's like some like, I guess you could say it's like a kind of a rubbery thing, but like in this movie, it's that.
Yeah, it looks very accurate to me, and even with like the fights, with the way he uses the cards, it just felt so good to see that, and with the kind of the cane thing was great.
Yeah, and his like ability to like play with the timing of it too. Which is something that it's one of the things that I loved about X-Men 97, the new animated one, is that they use those abilities the way that they were never able to use in the animated series, you know, back in the actual 90s. Like Cyclops using the like blasting the ground to like scoot back like as an evasive move, and like you know, Gambit doing that same stuff with the cards, and like my wife was like, you have to stop, because he would be doing something, and like when it wasn't Juggernaut. It was who did he hit in the chest? Oh, it was the striped guy.
With the beard.
Guy from Punisher, the very first Punisher, the Tom Jane Punisher. Right. That was actually played by Kevin Nash at the time, but in this it wasn't. He hits it with that and like leaves it there, and I was like, he's about to blow up, and my wife's like, shut up. We are in a full theater. And like it was so fun seeing this in like a full theater, because I'm like not that guy typically. Like where I get like excited about things, especially when it's like fanboy stuff, or I'm like, all right, guys, we've seen it. Like, let's chill. But like there was a couple of times in this where I was just like, Rick! And then it was me, and it was like me, and there was one other guy like 3 rows back that would like, we would laugh, bruh! Like it was just one like big blurt laugh, like not obnoxious to where it was like too much, but it was just like, and like we would both do it every time at the same time.
Or like you were about to throw up or something. Like. I did appreciate the line where he was just like, I think I've always been down here. Yeah, because you never were created in the first place.
And it keeps going. And it does the rule of 3 with comedy, because it cuts back to 3 times where he says kind of the same thing. Yeah. I've always been down here. The people forget who we saved. Oh, we wanted to save. And like the things that we needed to do. Oh, wanted to do. Whatever, you know, it's just like.
The only were there any like cameos from the Fox universe, Marvel universe, where you were like, oh, I wish they brought this character in? For me, I don't know whether it was, but like Ghost Rider. Would Ghost Rider fit?
That would have been fun, but
you know, Nick Cage's one.
He's actually too busy.
Yeah,
like, oddly enough,
he's
Nick
doing
Cage
so much.
Too busy. And like
he's got a big bill.
Yeah, and like I don't want to fucking see, you know, the guy from the TV show come in, because like one, I think they may be bringing him in somewhere, because now that they're bringing all those other things in, although they're not bringing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's just the Netflix ones, but we'll see. Who knows? It won't. Right. It could be anything. But yeah, no, I would have loved to see Nick Cage, but at the same time, it's like I don't know if we need that. Like this movie is already a little packed, and like all of a sudden you throw Nick Cage in, it's like now we're getting it a little too fan service.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Alan Cumming
Yes,
as Nightcrawler. Because like we haven't even really
Yeah.
had Nightcrawler back. Was there one in one of the?
Well, there was a
X-Men?
younger
I
version,
forget.
wasn't there, in Apocalypse?
That's right. Yeah.
But I mean, he's too busy like playing. Well,
Traitors.
yeah, hosting the US
yeah.
traitors and playing the guy from Cabaret for the 100th time,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, you know what? He's fucking phenomenal. One of my favorite actors of all time.
The only other like holy shit moment for me was when obviously Hugh Jackman puts the helmet on or the cowl on for the first time. Great joke from Deadpool where he's just like, oh, those handles for a blowjob or whatever. Air resistance handles.
I will say that one of the few things that I don't like about the Hugh Jackman is he has no hair on his arms. Like Wolverine should have hairy arms. I get it. You want to show off the definition, whatever. But then, and then also, the other thing was, and it's one of the reasons that you wouldn't want this ever before, is that as soon as he puts the mask on, Wolverine is completely digital. Like there is no Hugh Jackman there at all. You know, at that point, it's like it's almost like a cheat, which is fine because at that point we've seen it enough, and like now we're in a cartoon. And I'm not that mad, but I was just like, I mean, it's not really him.
Yeah, certainly with some of it, yeah. Because there's that big wide tracking shot, isn't it, when they kill all the different Deadpools?
Yeah.
There's definitely occasions where it's all completely CG.
All the different Deadpools, that's another great cameo.
Yeah, there's
So you got Nathan
Blake Lively in there.
You got Blake Lively again. That's his real wife. So she plays Lady Pool. You've got the ugliest dog winner in the world playing Dog Pool. That's a fact. And then you have Nathan Fillion as Head Pool.
Okay.
I believe it was Matthew McConaughey as Tex Pool, and like there's a bunch of other ones, and I can't even remember them all.
There's the striker from Wrexham, his Ryan Reynolds football team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Welsh one, which was fun.
Soccer team, but yeah,
football team, and I think his kids are in there as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And even his baby, apparently.
Yeah, his baby is Baby Pool. His son is Kid Pool, and then his daughter was in there somewhere. I don't know if she was one of the Deadpools, but I know that she's in there because they have 3 kids now.
Yeah, I mean that whole sequence
so cool.
Again, like incredibly violent. I just love the fact that. Like when they go through the bus, like it just the windows literally get covered in blood and you can't see what's going on. Yeah. Maybe a device to just like cover up some of the choreography. I don't know, but yeah, it still kind of worked.
It's this beautiful, like violent version of like the old Zucker Brother movies, like Airplane, and stuff where it's like there's always a joke on screen, whether it's being said or seen. And so even when there's all this violence going on, there are little jokes somewhere in the corners of things, like whether it's something you see or it's some way that somebody's killed or it's an image of like one of the Deadpools that we haven't really seen before, like there's something going on that's more interesting than just the violence. Yeah. It's very well done.
So what did you make of kind of the story as a whole? Like, I think this is kind of just a great story where they're not really trying to do too much in terms of plot and making it too complicated, and they're really letting like Deadpool Wolverine shine with the dialogue and their character stuff. I think it was really well done. And as I said, like Mr. Paradox's kind of emergence as arguably the real villain of the film was really great to see. The fact that he just wanted to get rid of the Fox universe so he can kind of take over.
Well, no, you see, like that's one of those things. So like, if you look at it, it's a very like well-structured story, which I enjoy. First, it starts out with, in media res, where we're in the middle of him desecrating the corpse of the Wolverine that we know.
Yeah.
Logan. And like, which is supposedly the one from the first, all of the X-Men movies that we've seen plus Logan. Right. And we don't know why he's doing it. He just says that I have to. And then it's the TVA fight. So immediately we're like, oh shit, this is the Fox universe meeting the MCU. Right.
Yeah.
And then we get taken back to before that, where he's already in the MCU, but getting kicked out. So like, it's like, oh, well, where the fuck are we? Like, what is going on? We catch back up to that point or whatever. But like, so my wife had never watched Loki. Right. She'd seen basically everything up to like Endgame. and then like the Guardians and some of the more fun ones or whatever after that. But like, so she didn't know about the TVA, which I think I just called it the TVU, but the TVA. She didn't know about that. She didn't know about any of like what was really going on. She's seen the other two Deadpools. She loved it, right? So like it shows that. Sorry, Bryce is my co-host is here for our podcast later.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so it was really well done. I think that if you look at it from an ABC standpoint of like script writing, it catches us. It starts us out where we kind of left off in a way, right, from the last ones, and then it says, "Here's what to expect," even giving us that like sort of Chekhov's animated skeleton, if you will, of like if you're going to introduce Wolverine in the beginning, you're going to need him in the third act, which is absolutely true, right? Like the good Logan at the beginning, who has already passed, and we knew he did that self-sacrifice. That has to come back at the end, right? So there's that. So the real enemy of this film is fate and fighting your own fate, right? So it's Deadpool trying to change his life using everything that he can or cannot do, then also getting Logan to change it up.
Yeah, I did really kind of appreciate kind of the reveal that Mr. Paradox and Cassandra Nova were kind of working together. Well, they had an agreement that, she stays down there in the trash domain, or whatever you want to call it, and Mr. Paradox is basically feeding her Fox heroes to keep her happy as playthings, or for the Lyeth to keep the Lyeth happy, to keep him fed. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And obviously Pyro is in contact with Thingy with Mr. Paradox, because like he was going to pay him lots of money or something and get him out, or give him a way to get out of the trash if he kills Cassandra. Yeah. So then obviously that breaks the deal between Cassandra and Mr. Paradox. So, and obviously for this whole time she has a sling ring from Doctor Strange. So, which was a little bit frustrating because she is very much of a Maverick character, and
she didn't necessarily say it was from Doctor Strange, but it was a pruned Strange.
Yeah.
That she killed. So it could have been like the Mad Strange or something, Obviously
some sort of variant, yeah. Yeah, so it was a little bit kind of frustrating with the fact that she can literally get out of that universe at any time from getting that sling ring. So I get it from a story point of view, because you need to get, Deadpool and Wolverine out of there at some point, some way. Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's your classic Deus Ex Machina.
But yeah. So that was slightly frustrating, but at the same time, because of the narrative of the film, it's very jokey, very violent, etc., and you're here for Deadpool and Wolverine, you can kind of give that a little bit of a pass. But yeah, other than that, I think structure-wise and story-wise, I really enjoyed it overall.
I think the only other movie that I would want to see is Rob Delaney's movie.
Yeah.
Which, like,
oh
that's
my
God.
Boy.
Always. Like, who could be better at playing Peter than Rob Delaney? Like, he's just so perfect to the point where every Deadpool, they're like, we all have one. We all have a Peter, and we love
Peter.
And like our Deadpool is the only one whose Peter didn't die, even though he did, and then he had to go back in time to save him.
Yeah. That was
hilarious. It's like the end of the Spider-Man cartoon where it's like Peter Parker realizes that there's only one Peter Parker who didn't lose Uncle Ben, so he has to go find that Uncle Ben.
I don't think I've ever seen a pair of balls show up so vastly and horribly on a suit. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, are you kidding me? I loved it.
They are huge.
Loved it. I'm all here.
Yeah.
Give me those Delaney balls all day.
Yeah. The only other character I like to mention is Daedpool.
Yeah.
And I think that was definitely a character I really wanted to get killed.
Well, and if you watch the credits, or even if you go to IMDb, I believe it's credited as Gabriel Reynolds.
Right.
He gave himself a different name. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was kind of an interesting character, and he's the only other character that does the fall break, but he does it in such a pathetic way. Like
the proposal.
And it's like,
everything.
What are you doing? That's not how you do it.
Just like, because Ryan Reynolds is commenting about his own life, about like Marvel and all this other stuff. But then he's like, we can. He's like, I do have that too. The proposal. Like, that's not it. Like, where's your mask? Really? You would cover this?
Oh God, I remember watching that film at university in this kind of big living room area. We all put chairs down to watch it on this little laptop to watch the proposal.
Man, that's the one that relaunched Betty White into the modern era.
Cool. Yeah.
In fact, I think Ryan Reynolds was on his way out too until that.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll leave it there then, people. Chase, you have been amazing. This is your opportunity to tell us about your podcast and where can we find you, sir?
All right. So all social media at The Movie Gap. That's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell it's called now. Facebook as well. We're at The Movie Gap. You can find our actual episodes on crossthestreamsmedia.com, as well as, Apple Podcasts and Anchor or Spotify, Pocket Cast, anywhere you want. Like our RSS feed is on all of those, or you can find it on our website and get that. And then that podcast is basically, it's me and my friend Bryce, who I've known forever. We watch a movie that typically he hasn't seen, but sometimes I haven't. And we discuss it for the first time. Usually they're older films. And, we just see like, what's the difference in watching it when it came out versus, watching it now for the first time at our age in this, in this climate and everything like that. So that podcast has actually been going on as of today, when I'm recording this, the 4th, for 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 years.
That is an achievement, man.
We have a lot of episodes for you to catch up on. So that's still going. And then we are also starting a new podcast, my friend AP Stark and I, that is a improv-based podcast. If you're familiar with, there was an AM radio show that's still going on, but it's all about paranormal. And so that one was where it's a sort of a parody on that, in the vein of like like a comedy Bang Bang or interview show, where he and I play radio host and we interview people who have had paranormal experiences or are the reason that people have those things. That is going to be called Asked by Aliens. And if you wonder why that's weird, wait till you listen to it, because I'm only giving you half of what it's about. It's way too meta to get into. So, but I'm really excited about, always excited about the Movie Gap, but I'm really excited about launching Asked by Aliens, which will be at Asked by Aliens on all of the social medias as well. And that will release sometime this fall.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, I've been a guest on the Movie Gap as well, talking Galaxy Quest, one of my favorite films. Yeah, it was an absolute blast on that one. Yeah. Right, I think it's time to say goodbye, people. And it's goodbye from Chase. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
It is goodbye from me. You know what? I am just going to watch Blade again. And then Blade 2. And pretend there isn't a third one. Bye-bye.
I got to say, Blade 3 is the best. I'm sorry, Blade Trinity.
Yeah, sure. That's it for spoilers, guys. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. But don't stop there. Get involved and tell me what your thoughts are about this film. Send us a DM or comment on Instagram and TikTok at Film vs. Film Podcast, for X at FVF_podcast. Plus, we are now on YouTube, so hit that like button and comment there. If you do, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Remember, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. Pod signing off. Thank you.